Well, we're moving on to Stamford Bridge. We have Chelsea beating Liverpool in a dramatic finish. This was the Saturday night football. Chelsea unhappy not to get a penalty in the first half. This was for a push by Dominic Szoboszlai on Alejandro Garnacho. Dermot, anything in this?
He gets a little touch, there's no doubt about that, but is it going to cannon him through the air like that? I think not. What I will say as well, before I go any further, I thought this was an absolute masterclass in refereeing. Referee allowed them to compete. It was a great game because of the referee. Set a tolerance level that everybody fell in line with. It was great match.
Again, I agree with Dermot. You know what the funny thing is there is that Garnacho is trying to buy that foul. He's trying to buy a penalty there, and Szoboszlai was wise to it. Because yes, there was contact. Yes, there was pulling and pushing. But as soon as it got to that key moment when he's either going to pull it back or he might have a shot from that acute angle, Szoboszlai stopped. But then he's gone over, and I think that's the reason why he didn't give a penalty at normal speed. I thought in my mind he's dived, and he should have got a yellow card for that, to be honest.
Okay. Later on, we're moving through this because Isak felt he was hit in the face by Reece James in the box. Now, Arne Slot said if this was in the Champions League, it would have been a penalty. We keep bringing this up, the comparisons to Champions League and Premier League officiating, but what do you say, Dermot?
I think it's a foul by Isak. I think he grabs him first. When James gets swung round, he catches him, there's no doubt about that, but the first foul is committed by Isak. The referee spots the first foul, and I think in the Champions League they spot the first foul because they're top referees at that level.
I agree with that again. I mean, the only thing I would see, I hate, and I've been in situations like that. Defenders, they just try and shield the ball. They don't actually have control of the ball, and I think in that situation there, Reece James actually hasn't got control of the ball, and Isak wants to get round and get it, but because he's blocking him, he can't. Yes, there's contact from Isak on his shoulder. That's where the initial foul was. But then when he goes round him, of course, James is then, he's panicking and he's throwing his arms out. But the initial foul and initial decision was the right one. But I can understand why Isak is frustrated there, because defenders do that a lot, even when the ball's going out of play. They always kind of shield it and block you from getting the ball. I don't like that, and it goes in the defender's favour. But, I mean, that's the rules, and it was the right decision in the end.
Slot was really, really frustrated, though, Dermot. I mean, he felt a similar soft penalty was given against Liverpool at Galatasaray last week.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem, isn't it, Hayley, that everybody sees the game through the prism of their own club colours. He feels aggrieved at one at Galatasaray, which he doesn't think is a penalty, but that doesn't mean that's a penalty at Chelsea. I understand his frustration because he thinks, well, we've been done twice because we got one given against us, we didn't get one given for us. But you can't, if he thinks that one's wrong, he must think that one's wrong as well, because quite clearly Isak committed the first foul.
Dermot, I don't see decisions with the same prism anymore.
No?
No, I'm objective
since
now.
Yeah, right.
I brought you to the referee side.
You brought me to the referee side, you gave me the handbook.
Goodness me, let's talk about this then, Enzo Maresca. And his celebrations. Look, he'd already been booked for his protest about that Garnacho penalty shout, but he was later sent off. I mean, for that, but if you're going to do it, you might as well do it in style then, Dermot?
Well, better hung for sheep than as a lamb, isn't it? If you're going to do it big style.
I think that's a terrible decision. I mean, he's a part of the team, If they've scored right at the end, he's going to go and celebrate, and then for the referee to just come over and spoil the celebrations like that, that's unbelievable. I think, sometimes I look at certain things and I say sometimes you can over-celebrate, especially when it's not big games, big occasions. But in that situation there against, the champions right at the end, I think you should be able to celebrate with your team. He's part of the team.
Yeah, what do you think, Dermot? Or is it inciting the crowd? Is it causing...
If he had jumped into the crowd, that's different. But he actually just run over to the corner flag, cuddled his players, then went back. I know you disagree with this.
I don't disagree. I feel for the referee because the referee's hamstrung, isn't he? He's just got to do it. He ends up being the party pooper, so to speak. I mean, you've just said that, but he's got no choice, has he?
No, party pooper.
Again, I know you hate this when I say this, but this is another example of, the referee just saying, what, it's right at the end of the game, you're playing against the champions. Let common sense prevail, let him celebrate. Is anyone going to really be upset with that? No, I don't think so. But the rules are the rules, you're going to say, and that's the way it has to be. But I don't even think that should be a rule, because he's celebrating with his players.
I agree, and he couldn't go to the press conference either. Goodness me! So we don't like it either. We don't get to hear from him.
Close margins like last season, and that's the same for the last 2 games we've played. I think in both games we've created more chances, goal-scoring opportunities than the teams we faced with Palace and Chelsea. But the truth is that we've only scored in both games 1 time, and our opponent scored in both games twice.
Well, both these teams came into this one really needing a win. So how did Chelsea manage to exploit Liverpool down the flanks, Wayne?
I think Liverpool, it's a clear problem they've got in the right back area. And I think if you look, Bradley's come off twice in the last 2 league games at half-time. So they've tried Szoboszlai in there at times, and it hasn't really worked for him. And Frimpong was on the bench today and didn't get on. So they've tried 3 fullbacks in 7 league games. So I think Chelsea have seen that and they've exploited it. So I think if you watch here, Cucurella and Garnacho, they're in really good positions, and Bradley makes the wrong decision in going to Cucurella, and then you've got Maresca. You can see him telling Sanchez to put the ball in behind Bradley, which then it causes Liverpool a big problem. Canate gets dragged out of position. Conor Bradley's trying to recover inside, but it gives puts Chelsea in a real dangerous position. And now, as they're trying to recover the positions, the Liverpool back 4 are all over the place, and then you've got Van Dijk steps out, and if that pass is a little bit better, there's a massive space for Pedro in the middle of the goal to have a tap in. So that was a warning sign. And then again here, now you've got Garnacho, he faces Bradley up. Salah's no interest in tracking back to help him out, and Bradley, he's trying to do his best to get to the Chelsea players, and ultimately it leads to him getting a yellow card, which I'm sure that was a big factor in why he got subbed off at half-time. And again here, different players, but the same again. Szoboszlai gets dragged out into Cucurella. Now it's Gravenberch at centre-back. He gets isolated, now he's one-on-one with Garnacho, and then a little bit of care. Chelsea maybe have a goal. And then this was Mo Salah. I think he's with Cucurella. He has to stay with him because this was a problem. Chelsea can see that, they've exploited it. He's no interest in really tracking back. It's a lazy jog, then he stops. Cucurella keeps going. And now from being together, there's a big 20-yard gap. And this was a problem all afternoon for Liverpool. And now the other side, it goes to Estevao. Salah again is in a position where he needs to get back and he needs to connect with his midfield players, but he doesn't. And Chelsea have got big overloads. Estevao sees that. Enzo makes a run in off the back of Szoboszlai now, where Mo Salah, I think he's not even close enough to shout to tell Szoboszlai. And then the winning goal, again Cucurella making 4 runs. Salah's no interest in getting back. Van Dijk is with his man. Robertson's got his hands on his knees. I don't know if he's got a knock or he's tired. Estevao's in a good position at the back. Van Dijk leaves his man, tries to play offside, and Robertson is unaware of what's behind him, and Estevao gets the winning goal. So I think it was a big problem for Liverpool, not just tonight, but throughout the season.
Do you know, you mentioned Salah there. I know you can basically get away with what you want when you're scoring 25 or 30 goals, but Salah has no interest in tracking back anyway. So what's the difference from him last season to this season, that they're not getting away with it this season?
I think last season they were consistent in the team, they were consistent in the midfield. They had the 3 in midfield, and they were very difficult to play against, and that helped. That midfield shuffled across and helped Salah out a lot, where this season they've played the 2 in midfield, they've had Wirtz in front of that, and today was the first time they've gone back to a 3, so maybe it was a bit unfamiliar for the midfield this season, and it's took them a bit more time than they thought to fix that.
It was a really good game, and it got better and better as the game went on, and Chelsea were very impressive. Moises Caicedo particularly so.
It was a gigantic midfield performance, it really was. It had absolutely everything. It had a bit of Frank Lampard, it had a bit of N'Golo Kante. He was just absolutely sensational. He covered every bit of grass that he could, and of course the goal topped it off. I mean, there's no goalkeeper in the world that's going to save this. But the way he makes and creates space for himself, they did this most of the afternoon. Has actually made it difficult for Liverpool's midfield to get near him. But that touch to get away from McAllister. And then the technique there, as I said, there's no one stopping that. The power behind that's incredible, and the direction of it is perfect. I said it just had everything, this performance from him. It had the goal, it had protection in front of his back four. Don't forget the injuries and suspensions that they've got, Chelsea. So they needed him in that midfield to stand up. The composure, not under pressure at all, to play the passes like that, then to set Chelsea on the way in the final third again, and then same again, protection, timing of the tackle was absolutely superb and spot on most of the afternoon. And then very nearly again, he had the shot again. It's a decent save, but he's having the pop, and this is in the last minute of the game, basically protecting that goal again, or that win again, and he was just. It had everything. The midfield performance had everything from him, and that's not just today. That's all season, by the way, in midfielders. So it was almost near on perfect performance from a midfielder.
Maresca got 2 yellows, got sent off eventually for celebrating his second yellow, but you can't blame him, can you? A week ago, he was allegedly under a lot of pressure and might have lost his job had he not had a win in the Champions League midweek.
I know the laws and the rules, but come on, you've just scored a brilliant late goal. Your team has been superb for you under huge pressure, and he gets a yellow card for showing that emotion. I don't get it.
Well, firstly, we just have to explain why we're speaking to you and not Enzo. That's because of the red card. Of course, he can't do the TV.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what happened, but we all understand the emotion of the game and the situation the last second, how we score.
And so lovely to see a teenage boy, a young Brazilian kid, just so delighted with that winning goal. I mean, a massive moment for Esteban.
Not just for him, it's for the whole squad. We got a very young squad that have to learn